This month, I'm really excited about having Harvey Kronberg in Hutto. I saw Harvey, I guess about 6 months ago in New Braunfels and asked him if he would come and speak to us again, and he said, "Can you have it any other time of the day except breakfast?" And unfortunately, we can. This is a breakfast meeting, but it's certainly a pleasure to have you, Harvey. Kronberg is the editor of the Quorum Report, a newsletter of Political Texas since 1989. The Quorum Report is a nonpartisan online publication covering state politics and government from an insider's perspective. Harvey is also a political analyst for News 8 Austin. Texas Monthly declared him one of the 25 most powerful individuals in Texas politics and stated that the nexus of political gossip right now isn't the cloakroom, the Austin Club, or any of the dark whiskey-soaked haunts where politicos while away their evenings. It is the precise location at any given time of Harvey Kronberg. I don't know where they get whiskey. Former Lieutenant Governor Bob Bullock called Harvey the capital's most astute observer. Harvey Kronberg.
Well, thanks for having me. I certainly don't want to discount the value of those whiskey-soaked haunts. And I do have one other commendation. Texas Monthly once declared I was one of the 25 most powerful people in Texas politics. I showed the story to my wife. She looked at it and said, "Okay, I guess it is a real job." And then she looked at the other 24 and said, "Aren't they rich?" Wrong job. One more quick thing. I am, besides owning 2 publications, the owner of Austin Flag and Flagpole. Besides the chief advertising, I'd like to mention it because I am the only member of the Capitol Press Corps that is actually a practicing capitalist. Which means that we worry about things like liability, payroll, margins tax, infrastructure, roads, and ironically, one of the things I am concerned the most about is the one-call system, because every time we put one of those 100-foot flagpoles up, we have to dig a hole. And I can tell you that we have gone through gas lines, electric lines, coax cable, fiber, and it wasn't our fault. It was the it was mismarked. The one-call system is one piece of government that I am profoundly interested in, because I never want to have to make the call to one of our employees' spouses that something terrible happens. So I like to think that I have a very real-world perspective about what's going on in the legislature. And finally, I always like to start out by saying that it's good to get out of Austin, which, when the legislature in session, is 20 square miles surrounded by reality. It's not far out of Austin, but Williamson County and Travis County are very dramatically different when it comes to politics. Obviously, this election last week was a stunner in a variety of ways. I don't think I have to tell you anybody about the grand Republican sweep that took place, but I do want to give you a little quick historical perspective, because it's, as a friend of mine wrote in a column in the Quorum Report not long ago, it's not how the election is won, it's who is successful in taking credit for winning the election. And right now we're having an argument about who is taking, who is responsible for this election. Let me give you a couple of quick conceptual notes. This is the 3rd election in a row where the independent voter, essentially the non-aligned voter, fired the people in charge. This process started in 2006 when Democrats took over both houses of Congress, and Democrats gained 6 seats in the Texas House of Representatives. It continued again in 2008 with the same process. And now in 2010, essentially independents and more Republicans fired the folks in charge. The message is pretty clear. They don't like what's happening out there. Folks just don't like what's happening out there. They're not happy with the solutions from either party. I should tell you that before this election ever took place, we knew this was going to be a good year for Republicans for one very simple reason. Minorities and young people don't vote in midterm elections. They do vote in presidential elections. They don't vote in midterm elections. And they have been, well, obviously African Americans are strongly trending Democratic. Hispanic Republican growth, voting growth, has been going like this since 1990. when immigration became a core issue and from a Hispanic perspective was morphed into an anti-Latino argument, this trend line of Hispanic Republican voting going like this fell off a cliff in 2006, with 25% fewer Hispanics voting Republican. In 2008, it dropped another 13%, and in 2010, it dropped again. I don't have an exact number yet. I'm still waiting for some data to come back. All I'm saying is that's the fastest growing group of voters out there is Latino, and frankly, what happened in Texas with, I think, the election of 5 Hispanic Republicans may turn the tide and alter the trajectory and also change the tone of the argument. But the fundamental truth is that minorities don't generally vote in midterm elections. They will vote in 2 years. We have had 2 record turnouts in a row. In 2008, in the presidential election, we had 8 million voters. The previous election, I think, was 7.2 million. In 2010, we had a record 5 million voters turn out for the midterm election. Obviously, they broke Republican. But I think if in 2008, the presidential election was a reaction against George Bush and Republicans. Independent voters broke with Barack Obama. But what the president and the folks in Washington didn't get was that the independent voters were firing Bush and the Republicans. They were not embracing liberal policies. Maybe center-left, but not liberal. Now the Republicans are having an internal argument as to what this election means, and they're making the claim that this was a vote for a hard conservative agenda. Well, one of the reasons the Republicans did so well in this election was, and I don't mean to offend anybody here, but social conservative issues like abortion, gay rights, creationism taught as science in the classroom were simply not on the table this election. This was purely an election about economic policy, 9.5% national unemployment rates. If you look at the exit polls, even the health care bill, fewer than 1 in 5 voters put that as anywhere near their top priority. This was about the economy. When we have a conversation about the economy, Republicans are very successful at building a big tent. As soon as the social conservatives elbow their way back into the conversation, which they will, they're an important part of the Republican coalition, but as soon as they get back into the conversation, we start running campaigns on these kinds of issues, or the legislature or the Congress over-legislates in that direction, we will start to see fraying at the edges of the Republican coalition again. If you look at the 2008 exit polls, 7% of people who used to call themselves Republican told the exit pollsters that they didn't recognize the party because there was so much socially conservative argument inside the agenda, inside the conversation. Republicans will still win elections, certainly in the next couple of cycles. The deck is stacked in their favor. I am simply saying that when the conversation's about the economy, Republicans do best. When it's about socially conservative issues, it starts to fray the edges. Those 7% used to call themselves Republican. Now they call themselves independent. They broke left in 2008. They broke right in 2010. I'm waiting to see how they're going to break in 2012. The White House is not dumb. They're going to reframe their conversation, reframe their argument. And if Republicans are either unsuccessul in shifting the course of the country or too successful in shifting the course of the country, we could have far more competitive national elections in 2012. Well, so how bad was it for Democrats in Texas? Wow. 22 House Republicans beat 22 Democrats in the Texas House of Representatives. Guys like me who do this professionally were guessing at the upper end it was going to be 12 or 13. One of the reasons we thought that Democrats were going to do better down ballot was because the last time we saw a tsunami was in 1994, when the Republicans took over in the age of Bill Clinton. They took over Congress under the leadership of Newt Gingrich, but the tsunami didn't reach down ballot. People were not voting straight ticket in the same order of magnitude that they voted straight ticket this time. A friend of mine, another journalist, describes this election essentially as a middle finger salute. And I don't know how sustainable that is.